Well, at long last, the mock episodes have finally come to an end. It's time for the real deal. We say welcome in the Huddle, Nate Wangler, alongside Jackson Hayden, our pilot episode, number one of hopefully what will be many, not just covering the sport of football. We would like to graduate to other sports as well, but listen, we got to start somewhere. In the first season is football season. So there's a lot to get to when it comes to football in the state of Michigan. Jackson, I know we got another conference we want to get to in terms of kind of overlaying what everything looks like. We already gave your OK Gold prediction. You'll be able to see that on YouTube as well as our other social media pages. By the way, click the link in bio. If you go to any of our socials, it'll have everything there that you want to see. Now, we've talked about some other individual schools. We got one guy in our comment section that has not stopped commenting for the last, I believe it's 16 days now, 17 days going on about us talking about Dowagiac football. I think that's how you pronounce it. Dowagiac. I got to get someone to actually confirm what that place is called, but I believe it's Dowagiac. So anyways, we will get to Dowagiac at some point. I'm actually more interested to see if his longevity, how long will he continue to comment until we actually get to that school. But we will get to Dowagiac at some point. Again, we've done so much already, nearly 3,000 followers on TikTok. So you guys have certainly responded. Now we're finally into our full form episode. So welcome into the teaser episode. Jackson, I'll let you kind of lay out, what we got going on. And then I wanted to share a little bit about kind of my goal and my intentions with what we have with the show, because I think there's a lot of fun stuff that we're going to get to. But Jackson Hayden, everybody.
Yes, Nate. Well, Nate, there's almost 600 high school football teams in the state of Michigan. So, I mean, we got to start where what we're familiar with, and then maybe we'll get out. Yeah, but I'm with you. I kind of want to see how far he'll go, and how committed is he to the Wajiak high school football. But no, I mean, we're already off to a great start. It's crazy. You said 16 days, which I'm gonna kind of measure that out. That's how long we've been doing this. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like we've been doing this for a while, but we're off to a great start. Interactions are phenomenal. It's a lot of fun to kind of see how passionate people are about high school sports. So yeah, I mean, we're going to get into the OK Silver Conference, which is a huge conference, and it feels like it covers a large part of West Michigan. But yeah, great start to the show.
Well, and I'll lay this out before we get into our OK Silver conversation, because there is a lot to get to, and many of those teams have already hit me up with requests to talk about their programs, so there's certainly a lot to cover. The reason why we love high school sports as much as we do is because the state of sports and athletics in 2026 has become one of greed. It has become one of money. And in a lot of ways that I feel like, Jackson, that has robbed people of their love for what sports is, which is familiarity. Even at the college level, there used to be a time, you're a Wisconsin fan, I'm a Michigan fan, where we used to have the same players and coaches for a stretch of years. We got used to those guys. We fell in love with their game and who they were and what they did for that team. I think of the likes of, Mike Hart and Chad Henne, and I'm dating myself here, right? I'm already believe me, I've been watching Michigan football for a long time. But even like with Michigan basketball, you think about someone like Dusty May really reinvigorated a lot of people's love for that basketball program. And then what happens? I don't blame him, by the way. Let me just put that out there first. He got his bag, he got out. But that is the state of what college athletics is. I remember my dad asking me, when are they just going to start calling it the National Collegiate Basketball Association? When are they going to start calling it the National Collegiate Football Association? I don't know. I mean, we've already seen the SEC threaten to completely go away from college football. And at this point, everybody's like, well, what are we talking about? Is this a high school podcast, or is this a college podcast? It's not. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the reason why high school is beloved by so many is because it is still that level of amateurism and community that you don't see really anywhere else in the sporting landscape. I'm looking at UAAU, I'm looking at U clubs, I'm looking at UNCAA, I'm looking at all you guys, because it has become corporate, it has become greedy, it's become all those things. But high school, and specifically high school football in our communities, Yeah, the love, the passion for that will never go away. So this show is designed to bring you the top storylines in high school football. It's designed to bring you again, literally and figuratively inside the huddle in Michigan high school football. You know, whether that be decision makers, coaches, players, anybody else in the equation. And so we are going to bring you those top storylines as well as those players. And also, and I want to work this in before we get to our preview, we want to get you guys involved as well. We want to get you guys involved on our social media. We want game day vlogs. We want all of that. So we will be building as we go. Again, be patient, okay? We're not going to get to everybody all at once, but we will get to you at some point. But Jackson, without further ado, let's get into the OK Silver, because you're right. This is a big conference. It covers a large swath of the state of Michigan. And again, many of these schools are jockeying for that number one spot and have wanted me to kind of predict that. But then again, it's hard to do because of how big the conference really is. I did this with the red. I did it with the gold as well. I'm just going to leave this up to you. Again, surefire, first team off the top of your head that you think will emerge as champions in the OK Silver.
Man, that is a really difficult thing because as we're soon going to find out, like there's a lot of these schools that are on that verge of if they can just complete, they can finish late in these games. You know, there's teams that had breakout years last year. We're going to talk about Godwin Heights. We're going to talk about Kellogg'sville, right? And then we're also going to continue talking about Belding. Those are three schools that I'm looking at that could potentially win this conference. But then you also got schools that haven't had a recent history of success at any sort of level, you know? So we've got two new teams that are coming from 8-man football to 11-man football too, right? That's there's some really exciting things to think about as well. But you know, this is a cool conference to be a part of too, because it stretches from Belding and it goes to Fruitport down to Holland, right? And Hopkins, really, if you want to go further. You know, so a lot of requests for these schools. Belding last year won the conference. Godwin finished runner up last year. Godwin was the big surprise team, and it came down to that final game of the season. Godwin, Heights, and Belding. I mean, it wasn't close, but it gives schools like Godwin Heights, who aren't typically known for football, some hope, right? So, and that's why we're doing this show, right? We go inside the huddle. We show these schools that maybe have some hope. We get to hear the voices of some of these teams too, some of these players, right? These players are constantly in our comments, right? So yeah, football there, it's right around the corner. Next Monday, that's when technically the first practices begin. So it'll be a lot of fun. And especially with this conference, week 1 is when conference play starts. That's how big this conference is.
It isn't that great too, right out of the gate. Like you don't like play a cupcake to begin the season. Like you get right into it. It's like the 900-meter sprint, right? Because we're going 9 weeks here in the high school football season. So it certainly feels like, again, right out of the gate, as you said, we're going to get right into it. Like we're going to hit the ground running. Let's just go one by one, the way we always do on this show. Let's start off with the Belding Black Knights, their last state championship coming in 1997. Again, that area of the state in Belding is undergone a lot of change, whether it be industries coming in and leaving and families coming in and leaving, a lot of turnover over the course of the last 3 decades. But to your point, Jackson, and you've said this before, they have consistently been a good football team. Their last title was back in 2017. I think it's important to mention their running back is back this year, and this is a playmaker. This is a kid that knows how to run with the rock and make things happen. If they can get some consistency on their offensive line, it's a team that can move the football pretty well. Now, defensively, maybe there's some questions. Maybe you have some two-way players. What do you see out of Belding coming into 2026?
I mean, you're looking at a team that consistently is playing in the district championship game. And for a lot of schools, that would be a dream to just get to that mark, but they're constantly there. So they know what they have to do to finally get over that hump. And I think their 5'8" senior running back, Ethan King, who is considered one of the best running backs in all Division 6 and Division 7. I mean, that's going to be a key part to their offense. He rushed for over 1,500 yards last year on just a little less than 150 carries and average 10 yards a carry. I mean, you're going to score a lot of points if you're carrying the ball for 10 yards a play, and scored 16 touchdowns on top of that. But it's a good team. They lost the district championship to a Kent City team that That's another football program in this West Michigan area that has been pretty solid for the last 10 years, right? Another small town school, but I feel like you don't consider Belding as like a small town school. They are, but they don't feel like it. They don't give off the vibes. You go on that campus, they feel like a big campus. Their schools are newer, right? So I think this year could be that year that they finally get over the hump. I think they're going to come back stronger. Again, you got a running back that is definitely collegiate level. I'm not sure at what level that is, but this is going to be a very fun Belding team, and I think they're going to be competing a lot closer with some of those breakout teams that we saw a year ago.
I talked about how high school football is kind of the last line of amateurism when it comes to athletics, and that's the reason why we all love it because there is that familiarity. But I can sense that there are people in the listening audience that are like, "Whoa, hold on, not too fast," because there is some level of that in the high school ranks. Now, I think about the one thing that was inserted in the NCAA that kind of, I wouldn't say infected high school athletics, but has certainly bled down into high school athletics, and School of Choice has obviously made this possible in the state of Michigan, and that is the high school transfer portal. Now, when I look at this next team in Comstock Park, they've lost some of their best options offensively to that portal. They went to Grand Rapids Catholic Central, and the last decade for Comstock Park has been one that is, again, it has been really, really hard for CP. It's just been really tough to establish any level of consistency when it comes to winning. And again, I'm going to date myself again, but going back pre 2016, which ironically was the time when I was in high school, Comstock Park was good. There was a level of consistency there. They were competing with West Catholic, the school that I went to. They were competing with Zeeland West. But there's a little glimmer of hope with CP this year because they've done pretty good in all the things leading up to the season, including you talked about in here the 7-on-7 tournament that they finished first in. What is the silver lining when it comes to Comstock Park this year?
I think you got to get above 500. I think that's your goal this year. I mean, 2 wins last year, but that Hope College tournament that a lot of local schools compete in, it's a 7-on-7 football tournament. They place first in that. Now you're playing down, was it four or less guys than normal? So take that with a grain of salt, but you also got to look at it. Well, you've got pieces of the offensive line there, pieces of the defensive line, and you're going to probably have your best key players out there as your quarterback, as your running back, as your receivers. So that's a fun aspect of it to think about. That's got to give you a ton of hope, especially going into camp starting here next week, right? So, this is a team that I think could probably get back to 500, if not at least above it. And yeah, they only have one non-conference game. That's Berrien Springs. Otherwise, they're going right into the fire, and you don't have very many tune-up games with a conference as strong as this one.
Another team that is big, they're tough, they're physical, and they're gritty. The country boys, they just build them differently. Like I don't know what they eat out there necessarily, but this is a team that always has big defensive and offensive lines. They're physical, they can establish the line. They've just been missing, I guess, a little bit of that offensive explosiveness that can push this program over the top because they've won a lot of football games, 5-4 overall in the regular season last year before losing to Kalamazoo Hackett in the first round of the postseason. This is a team that, a lot of questions about where could they go. Well, they get one of their best players back on the offensive and defensive lines. This is a team that loves to run the football. What is Hopkins missing, or what should we be excited about when it comes to Hopkins here this season?
I mean, maybe a little bit more defense, maybe just a titch more offense. I mean, you got that senior Cameron DeHaan, who was an all-region defensive lineman last year, being the standout player on this entire team. So, you got your defense locked down. You got your captain of the defense right there. Now this offense has just got to step up a little bit, right? They haven't. Their last state championship appearance was in 2002. They're looking for their first district championship since 2008. And this is a team last year that lost by 8 to a Kellogg'sville team, which was a team that broke out last year. They lost by 10 to a good Godwin Heights team, and they lost by 1 to Belding. That was an 8-7 loss. That's just one of those, both teams could score early on. One team's just trying to do a 2-point conversion, right? And then you don't sniff the end zone ever again, right? And they lost by 2 possessions to a very good Reed City team. So this is a team that, once again, they're right there on the verge. They can take care of the football. They can especially in those big games. That's probably the most important thing is taking care of the football. I think they might squeak out a couple more wins than they did last year.
Before I got back into American football on the high school side of things, because I did broadcast it, I did play it. I was working in the area, the other football. I had a morning show. I was doing a lot of play by play leading up to the World Cup. And when I look at this next team, the Holland Dutch, generally speaking, they've been better at football than they've been at football in recent years. And this is a team that's been pretty good in the state in the sport of soccer, as they call it here in the United States. But in American football, maybe not so much. 2-7 last year. They started the season hot with back-to-back non-conference wins. Obviously, Ottawa Hills, who has not been the most competitive, and South Haven. But after that, kind of fell off for the remainder of the year. They have a good wide receiver back, but when you look at Holland as a whole, what do you see out of the Dutch this season?
That's a good question. I mean, they've got a player last year who really was the only source of offense. Finn Galloway Jr. was a wide receiver. He scored 7 touchdowns in a game last season, 4 receiving, 3 rushing, which put him up top 15 all time for most touchdowns in a game, which is crazy. 7 touchdowns in a game, and you're not even breaking into the top 10. That's quite the accomplishment. But the Dutch, they're not too far removed from being a borderline playoff team. They went 5-4 in 2024, and they won 4 of their last 5 games of the season. Perhaps you could say they were snubbed that season, right? Again, playoffs are looking completely different going into this season. But they started out strong last year, beating 2 teams that aren't maybe the best, but not, how do you take those wins and you roll them into more, right? You're looking at this year, you only got 2 wins last year. How are you going to get to 4 wins or 3 wins, 4 wins, right? I think their goal this year should be just getting back to that 4 or 5 win level, just trying to improve a little bit more. This is a school, like you said, has never been known for football, right? But they're in a big town, big city, and this is a city that could definitely rally around a good football team. You see what they do with Hope College? Why can't they do it with Hope High School?
Here's a football program that has been on us like it flies to a light shining in the middle of the night. And I've heard many a messages. I actually got a personal text message from someone who is closely related to this football program, works as an athletic trainer, I believe a strength coach as well. Shout out Sean Judd. I know he's probably watching this video right now. But he talked about how John Shipley, the head coach of Fruitport, was actually watching our videos. And so he was curious as to when we would talk about Fruitport. Well, here you go. Truth is, Fruitport, for the longest time, I talked about like North Muskegon. There was a segment of time where they were kind of an afterthought. There are other programs who were like that. Fruitport has certainly had their stretches of not that much quality of play, but this is a team that Jackson is on the precipice of doing something great. And we saw that last season in a couple of the games that they lost really just by one possession. Not to mention they have a new head coach, they have a new vision, they have a new culture. All of those things worked in. And from what I've collected from Fruitport in the players on that team, there's a level of confidence that they could really make a run this year and compete to go win an OK Silver title. When you look at the Fruitport Trojans, what do you think about these guys here this season?
I mean, confidence is a huge key in high school athletics. I mean, I came from a school where we were not good in anything. I think volleyball was the only thing we ever exceeded at, right? But that was all the sports I ever played. Confidence was never high. Everybody walked in head down. They're like, "Oh, we suck. We're never gonna win," right? And even in games that we should win, like we're good, talent's there, but everybody's confidence is low. If your confidence is highest from what we've seen in the comments, right? That's a good starting point, especially in that area. That means that you could win the games that you're supposed to win, right? And perhaps that confidence can carry you to 1 or 2 more wins and sneak you into the playoffs, right? Their last playoff win came in 2022. That was their first since 2006, and that was the season they also beat teams like West Catholic in Coopersville, right? John Shipley he's been all around the place, right? He was a head coach out in Colorado for 4 years, came back to Muskegon, right? Was at Reese Buffer for a couple of years. I think he can do some really, really good things. And I mean, you've already got some buy-in from the players, and I think that's where it starts. And I think that makes for a very dangerous team.
We already talked about the Godwin Heights Wolverines a little bit. Go back to our social media page if you want to check out that video. This is one of the teams that, to really be on the lookout for this year. And it's interesting when you think about Godwin Heights, this is another program that's been down on their luck in stretches of years. It's weird to think they could be a dark horse this year, but very quickly, your thoughts on Godwin?
Oh my gosh, Nate. Dude, this is I think my favorite program that I watched last year.
Ooh,
I
okay.
I called one game. One game. It was Kellogg'sville versus Godwin Heights, which very, very big rivalry, by the way. But it was kind of a game to watch that week too. Brandon Kimball, he was the head coach in 2018, stepped down a couple years later, became the athletic director. Their football coach left. He took back over last year, right? He is doing it right. He's got the buy-in from the players. Last season featured two regular season losses, one to Kent City and another to Belding in the conference championship game, if you will. He's got a very high-powered, a quick team that could run the ball and pass it very efficiently. I want to talk about their quarterback. Their quarterback, Martellus Forrest. He's a junior this year. He was a sophomore last year, starting at the quarterback, and kind of he was accurate throwing. And I've heard, I don't know, but I've heard that it's hard to teach accuracy when you're throwing a football, right? He was dotting guys and throwing them into buckets. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, you could go check it out. Check it out on my TikTok. There's a couple highlight videos in there, and you could just see him just triple coverage. Doesn't matter. He's going to throw it over their head, right? Julius Hoskins. Doesn't that sound like a Big Ten running back? I mean, he last year, watching him against Colligsville, he was one of those running backs that I mean, you could see him bouncing around. His eyes were everywhere. He was finding the holes. Then all of a sudden, he's out on the other side, going down the field. Right? They've got guys everywhere up and down that offensive line. Their defense, I think, is where they need to improve the biggest. They can improve that defense. I think they don't give up 52 points again to Belding. This is my dark horse. I don't know if I have the guts to say they're going to win the OK Silver, but I almost I want to say it. Like I think Godwin Heights has the potential to take down Belding and win the OK Silver.
Ooh, okay. All right. Hey, someone said that we should rename the show the Hot Takes Pod. I'm not a hot take guy. All right. If anything, I am the wet towel guy over top of the hot take. Okay. I don't like hot take guys. I like strong opinions. Little bit of a difference there, okay, but I that's a take. That's a take. We'll roll with that one. I'm sure people will love us rolling that nugget out there. Well, I mean, I guess on the other side of that equation, a team that is also on the rise, I feel like maybe parallel to that of Godwin Heights in terms of their trajectory, only going upwards. It's the Kellogg'sville Rockets. They have undergone a facelift, an overhaul, not only with the coaching staff, but also with the team as well. You go from 2 wins to all of a sudden showing us signs of hope and life and that they are on the rise and making positive strides. So let's talk about the other side of that equation. What about Kellogg'sville?
Colligsville is another one of those teams that I was very impressed by in that one game that I announced, right? Justin Dennett is doing it. He is doing a great job there. He's coming from Mona Shores, where he's a head coach, or excuse me, not Mona Shores, Montague. And that is another really good football program that he did really well. Never missed the playoffs while he was there. And last year brought Kellogg'sville to their first playoff appearance in quite some time. It was their first since 2017. They haven't won a district title in this modern era. So he had two before last season. Kellogg'sville just had 2 wins in 3 years, and he already made a huge impact. I can't remember if it was the head coach of Godwin Heights, Brandon Kimball, or Justin Dennett who said this when I was interviewing them last year, but one of them made comment about how the community rallies around those schools like none other. And when they are good, it's almost you could feel like a different vibe in the air when you walk onto those campuses, right? Kellogg'sville, I think they dealt with some injuries last year. They don't deal with those injuries. I think they are a very frisky team. They have to stay healthy. That is a big key for them. Last year, Godwin Heights kind of put the gas on them towards the end of that because the injuries were piling up. But without that, without the silly fouls, I think they're a team that could make some noise this year and perhaps play some upsets here throughout the season.
I know we only got about just over 9 minutes remaining here in our pilot episode, but I definitely want to get to these two programs. It is really cool to see the level of participation going up enough to allow these two teams to get back to 11-man football. I'm thinking of Calvin Christian. I'm also thinking of North Point Christian and Jackson. You and I, that school means, I guess, not means a little bit more, but we're a little bit more familiar because they're right across the street from where you and I kind of got our start in terms of broadcasting sports at Cornerstone University. I mean, they are literally kitty corner. Now they have a really good basketball program, but they haven't been back to 11 man in terms of football. Let's start with Calvin Christian first. By the way, the fact that their mascot is a squire is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. that is a great, unique mascot. It's tough to really give a preview for a team we haven't seen in 11-man football that is returning to 11-man, but what do you see out of Calvin Christian this year?
Well, I'll start with this. My mom is an alumni of
Mm,
Calvin Christian, right? So I told her the other day when I was prepping for this, I said, "Hey, Calvin's going back to 11-man football for the first time in 3 years." And she's like, "Well, they've never really been good. They've always been a basketball school. So what can Calvin Christian do this year to kind of make some noise?" It's going to be difficult. You go from 8-man, which I think is a phenomenal area, by the
absolutely.
way. 8-man, I think we definitely will get into that more. I think it's great for smaller schools. They were in this same conference back in 2022, and they did okay. They won a few games throughout the year. So it's going to be interesting. I think they're a team that could definitely win the games that they're supposed to win. I don't think they're going to be an above 500 team, but this is this is a program that has never really won, but they're a small private school that struggles to compete with the likes of having a West Catholic, a Unity Christian, a Catholic Central,
Yeah.
a GR Christian. You know, those you got to. How are they going to try to establish themselves as the next dominant Christian school in Grand Rapids?
That's a really tough thing to do. I mean, I guess on the other side of that coin, North Point Christian. First of all, I love the colors. I see you guys practice all the time. You're not far away from where I'm at, but when you look at North Point, again, I think it's an accomplishment to get back to 11 man. Right before the season even begins, you've already accomplished something if you're North Point Christian. You're back into the fight and playing full 11-man football. So again, great to see the numbers come back up, but what do you see out of North Point this year?
Very similar to Calvin Christian, in my opinion. They've been out of the 11-man for longer. Last year in 8-man, they went 4-5 overall. But I think for that case, I think you're just happy that you're fielding some sort of a football team, right? Their last time in 11-player football was that COVID season. 2019 was their last time they made 11-player playoffs, and it resulted in a first round exit to Kent City. And that Kent City team was another very, very good team. Um, but they're just 1 year removed, or excuse me, 11 years removed from an undefeated season that resulted in a semifinal loss to Clinton, which was back to back years. They went back to back years
Yeah.
going to a semifinal. I mean, to be honest, even though that you and I announced right across the street from North Point, I didn't know they had a football team until Cornerstone played soccer there one time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Yep.
this is a football program that's been around for less than 20 years too. So I think they could come out and make some noise. I think it's again very similar. I think that Calvin Christian, that North Point Christian game, is going to be the game to watch when it comes to these two new schools.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, it may be the birth of a new rivalry. I mean, it could be something that's really fun that people can get involved in. And obviously, we will be talking about that more and more. You only need a couple of really good classes that want to change what it is that that program is in order to get things moving in the right way. That's why I say, like, these high school teams are only really one group, one good group of kids away from changing what the entire conversation is. I saw it play out in front of me with Caledonia, which is another school that we have to talk about, but you know, they won their state championship in the 2010s, and then during the iteration at the time that I was there, they got a new coach, and they just got this wave, this class that for one reason or another, were really good at playing football. And that kind of gave them the opportunity to continue to build. And obviously, the renovations with the stadium, the entire culture around Caledonia football almost changed overnight because you had two waves of classes that came through that changed that conversation. And so for North Point and for Calvin Christian, that's really where it kind of begins. Your first accomplishment is you got back to 11 man. Great. That's awesome. You're back with the big dogs now. Not to say that 8-man isn't the big dogs. I want to talk about those guys as well because they are certainly worthy of a mention. but you're back with the big guys now. Now what do you do from here? And so that's the big question. But that is our pilot episode here on In the Huddle. That was a fun one, and we're going to be doing some longer episodes as we get closer. Obviously, we just wanted to give a breakdown here of the OK Silver as we come up on the season. We know practices are coming up here soon. If you're watching this one here today, we will be going live Wednesdays here on In the Huddle here on the Michigan Sports Radio. I got to remember that. It's ingrained into my head to talk about the other company. I'm not going to do that. But Michigan Sports Radio, again, live Wednesdays. Some of our episodes leading up to the season will be pre-recorded, but again, once we're in the season, we will be going live. And so we'll be doing those episodes, and we'll be posting long-form videos on YouTube every day, as well as our other social media channels as well. But that'll wrap up the pilot episode. Nate Wangler, Jackson Hayden. Listen, high school football is right around the corner. It's my favorite time of year, and we're going to be with you guys every step of the way. Jackson, any final thoughts here on our pilot before we say goodbye?
I mean, it's crazy. We're already a few weeks out. I can't wait for that first hit of crispy cold air at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. I mean, you're walking in, put that headset on. I cannot wait to ramble for 3 hours every Friday night.
It's going to be a great time. I'll be at Newaygo. Jackson will be at, where are you at? You're at Jenison. I should know that by now. But yes, Jackson will be at Jenison. I will be in Newaygo, but we'll be talking about everybody as we get closer. I'm frozen, so that means it's time to go. That was our pilot episode here on In the Huddle.
Located in Rockford, Phoenix Roofing and Exteriors is your family-owned and operated roofing experts, proudly serving our West Michigan neighbors with integrity. From roof replacements and repairs to full siding, gutters, and exterior upgrade, we got you covered. Visit thephoenixroof.com today.